Step 1 is to install a 64-bit version of REAPER, if you don't already have REAPER installed. So let's go over here, download REAPER, and I'm on Windows, so I will download the 64-bit version of the installer and run it. We'll agree to the license agreement, and we can do a portable installation or not. It doesn't matter. The rest of these steps should work fine with your existing installation. I will just do a portable installation for purposes of demonstration. All of these options are fine, so let's go ahead and install. And let's go ahead and run REAPER now. Step 2 is to install a 64-bit version of Python 3.9 or higher. The latest version for Windows is 3.13, but I often obtain better compatibility by installing the previous version. As of the date of this video, the pytorch installation that we'll do in Step 4 will not work with version 3.13, so let's scroll down to get the latest version 3.12. So we'll scroll down and get the Windows installer for this version of Python. And when we have that, we'll run it. And we'll customize the installation. All of the defaults are fine, but what's important is the Customize Install Location box. Let's select everything there, copy it, and open up an instance of Notepad and paste what we have there. We'll need to refer to this in some upcoming steps. Now we can install, and we now have Python on our system. Step 3 is to configure REAPER to see your Python installation. So let's go to REAPER and go to Options, Preferences, and scroll down to Rescript, and we'll need to check the box to enable Python, and then we'll need to fill in these two text boxes with the information in our notepad. So let's copy the full path, go to the first box and paste, and then for the second box, we'll select just this bit at the end, copy that, paste that here, and now we can see that Python 312.dll is installed, and we can click Apply, and we will need to restart REAPER. But now REAPER is able to see our Python installation. Step 4 can be skipped by Windows users, but let's go ahead and do it. So to start with pytorch, we'll go over here, scroll down, and we want the stable version of pytorch. Choose your operating system. I'm on Windows. We want the pip package for Python, and it doesn't matter what CUDA version we choose. If you have an NVIDIA GPU, you will want to use one of the CUDA versions, and if not, then you'll want CPU version. I have an NVIDIA GPU, so I'll choose the latest CUDA version, and we have a command that we need to run. So let's go to the Windows Start menu, type CMD, and hit Enter to bring up the command window. Next, we'll go back to our notepad and copy the path for our Python installation, do CD, and then right-click to change directory to that location, and then CD scripts. And now we can copy this command, go back to our command prompt, and paste that and run it. This will take some time, as the download is kind of large. We now have pytorch installed. The next part of this step is easy. To install transformers, we simply type pip install transformers and hit Enter, and we wait a minute or two. Step 5 is to unzip one of the releases to your REAPER resources folder. The latest release can always be found here. So we want either the Windows EXE version or the full version. Let's go ahead and download the full version, but the process from here will be the same for the Windows version as well. Okay, our download is complete, so let's click on it to open it, and we need to unzip this to the following location. Go to Reaper, Options, Show Reaper Resource Path. Okay, so we now have this folder open. We'll go back to our downloaded folder, select everything in it, and drag it to the Reaper folder. Now let's check that we have everything in the right place. So let's go to our Reaper Resources folder, and let's check in the scripts directory that in here we have the Composer's Assistant nnserver.py file, which we do. Okay. And let's also check in our effects folder in Composer's Assistant v2 that we have our files here, which we do. So we know everything is in the right place. Step 6 is to load the scripts into Reaper. So to do that, let's go to Reaper, click on Actions, Show Action List, New Action, Load Rescript, go into the Composer's Assistant directory, and scroll down to these 3 files. Select them and open them, and we now have the 3 scripts loaded into Reaper. We also need to go back to our Reaper Resources, Scripts, Composer's Assistant folder, and run the neural net server. Or, for Windows users who skipped step 4, the Composer's Assistant nnserver.exe file. So double-click on that, and you will get a window that looks like this. Give it a moment to run, and you'll see something like this. Keep this window open. Let's go back to Reaper now, and the first of these 3 scripts is the main one that you'll use for running Composer's Assistant. So let's insert a new track, and then insert another new track. Let's call the first track Piano, and the second track Violin. And let's also go to our snap settings, and for show grid line spacing, let's do measure. This is important because Composer's Assistant thinks about things in terms of measures. Let's insert some new MIDI items by control-click dragging, select them, and run the first script. In just a moment, you should see some notes appear in those MIDI items. If you've gotten to this point, Composer's Assistant is installed and working correctly on your system. Now that Composer's Assistant is installed on your system, to use it in your projects, all you have to do is go to Options, Show Reaper Resource Path and Explorer Finder, go to the Scripts folder, and go into the Composer's Assistant folder, and run the Composer's Assistant neural net server file by double-clicking on it. Or, for Windows users who skipped step 4, the Composer's Assistant nnserver.exe file. That will open a window, and this window will need to remain open for the Reaper Composer's Assistant scripts to function correctly. Once you're done working on your project in Reaper, you can then close this window.